Welcome to another episode of Random Video Game Repair, episode 8. And if this angle looks weird, it is, because I can't find my tripod. So I'm doing my overhead view. Let's spin the wheel and see what game we'll be working on today. Game Boy Advanced. Alright, let's grab the Game Boy Advance chest and see what we can work on. And the game we're working on is Spyro Attack of the Rhinots. And here we go. Before we begin, I want you guys to know that I am not a professional. I am not an expert. I am teaching myself how to repair electronics, repairing broken video games, electronics, what have you, in the hopes of learning how to repair the big ones. And so if I say something that is slightly wrong, completely wrong, or may not be the most efficient way of doing things, that is the reason why. So don't take these videos as necessarily a tutorial, but rather just as an entertainment video, and hopefully we'll all learn something along the way. And now let's take a look at Spyro here. I don't think I've ever played this game, and and the pins look absolutely gnarly. That looks like some definite corrosion. In fact, I don't know if we're gonna test this. You know, we'll test it real quick. Is it a bad idea? Probably. This might make the slot reader not happy, but that's okay. Shh. I mean, I don't think it's gonna read anything, but hey, why not check? Nope, no game pack. Okay, well, let's clean it up. When we test and there is no signs of life, we have to make sure that the pins are clean, and we already know that the pins are nasty. But for sake of cinematography and narrative storytelling, we had to at least show it be not working, whether that was foolish or not. So now we've got the iFixit Moray kit here, and I don't know if this has a tri-wing adapter. I think it does. So we've got a Y000 and a Y00. So let's try the Y00 and see if that is the correct one for this. And it is. And there we go. That's actually quite nice. And as always, high-tech storage device. And now let's pry it apart. I think we slide these down or up, or do they just pry apart? I've actually never worked on a Game Boy Advance game before. Done some Game Boy games and some Game Boy Color games. And here we go. All right. It's looking rather crusty. And we got a battery. We've got some sort of chip on the right here. Like I said, I've never worked on a Game Boy Advance game, so kind of just going over what we see. We got a blob-on chip here where they take the innards and just throw a bunch of silicone over it. It's just pretty cheap, but got a battery connector here and here. Don't know if the battery's any good, but that won't stop it from playing. Definitely got some corrosion here. So we definitely have to get this pried out. Go ahead and insert a little bit of plastic under here. I don't know if it almost feels like it's stuck. There we go. And now let's go ahead and check out the back of the board and see if there's anything back there. Okay, looks like we just have a bunch of little vias, bunch of traces. So the first thing we're gonna do, instead of jumping straight into any goop or chemicals, we're gonna go ahead and hit it up with some 91% isopropyl alcohol. 99% would probably be better, and technically yes, 91% would be the best option, but I feel like 91%'s fine. It's like 9% water or something. If it's coming up pretty easily, which it looks like it's okay. Might have some damage on this pathway here. Is that a capacitor or is that just some damage? I don't know. All right, now we can see that there's some discoloration coming up on the Q-tip. That is not solder mask. Solder mask does not come up like that. So definitely pulling up a lot of stuff. We do have, for sure, we have some sort of issue in this corner here. I'm probably gonna have to take it out to the microscope just to check that area out. It almost looks like a couple of pads, so I don't know if there was something populated there. Maybe we were missing a capacitor. I don't know, I've never looked at these. So we'll go ahead and get the rest of the board cleaned up, and I think what we'll do, actually, you know what? It's weird, I'm not actually seeing any identifiers as far as what board type this is, except for this here. There's an HP here, but I don't see anything that says what Nintendo board this is. I'm kind of also wondering, is this bootleg? It might be legitimate. Usually with bootlegs, they don't have Toshiba brand chips. They just throw like really cheap stuff at it. So, all right, what I'll do is I'll clean the rest of this board up, maybe use a toothbrush, hit it all with some isopropyl alcohol, maybe clean the pins up and then retest. But I have a feeling that we are missing a component here. You know, another thing that is kind of weird about this board design, this board here is soldered on to this board. It's very interesting. It's going to be a little bit tricky figuring out that. Hopefully there's nothing underneath it. We'll cross that bridge if and when we come in. All right. And that already is looking better. Wow, if you look at that right there, that almost looks like it's not even connected. I'm sure it is, but fascinating. It's almost got like a double row of points here, where this is where the chip would connect, and then there's another row here. Kind of does the same thing over here, but it's even a bigger gap. Interesting. Look how close this battery terminal is to those pins. I'm sure it's fine though. I'm sure this is the way that they designed it. I'm not 100% sure if this is an original legitimate board or not. We'll have to check that out, but clean it up, test first. Don't get too far ahead of ourselves. All right, let's do a little visual inspection on this side. So nothing too egregious looking here. Of course, if there's just something down here maybe. Yeah, it's not coming up. We'll have to check that out under the microscope, assuming this game doesn't work. Yeah, nothing too crazy on this side. A lot of vias though, so we could definitely have a lot of issues. We'll just see what happens. All right. Okay, now let's go ahead and grab the board here and grab this piece. Go ahead and clean this up real quick. Make sure it's not gonna mess with the board or get gunk on it. You know, I'm looking at this label and I don't see any embossed numbers at all. It's got this circle here, which is weird. Anything on the Game Boy Advance logo that we can see? Maybe. We're gonna have to grab a legitimate game at some point and check that out. And on the back, well, actually, yeah, F, ABS, 10-1. I don't see any embossed things. There's this thing that looks weird, maybe. And then we got this thing. I mean, nothing's misspelled. All right, well, we'll check that in a minute. Let's go ahead and test it out, and then if it doesn't work, we'll just go ahead and run it over with some, run it over. Yeah, let's go ahead and run it over with a car. Now we'll run it over with some glass stovetop cleaner if this doesn't work. Okay, I think you have to restart the DS every time, otherwise it won't load a cartridge. Nope, nothing in there. And just to show this game off, we already looked, this is in the lot of games, and I think this is legitimate. In fact, it has the embossed logo right there. There's this 41. Yeah, it's very difficult to read, but there is an embossed number here, 41. So, but we'll test this game out real quick and see if this slot is working. Yes, so the slot is working. Yeah, so the slot is working, so we at least know that the Game Boy is not the problem. We'll go ahead and clean up the contacts with some glass stovetop cleaner and polish and see if that does. I don't know if I should keep mentioning the disclaimer, but there have been some people that said that the glass stovetop cleaner is not good for the contacts. I have been using it for years and I haven't had any problems yet. I think it's fine, but user beware. I think most YouTubers, if I can call myself that, are always concerned about some litigious thing, so we have to be really careful. It'll probably never happen, but you know, that way nobody can complain to us if their game breaks, you know what I mean? And let's go ahead and add some of this goop, and we'll just go ahead and work at it. Look at that. That is definitely picking up some gunk. I don't think we want any of the stuff getting up underneath that chip, so be careful of that. And I always use some isopropyl alcohol to remove any excess goop or chemicals. All right, that is looking Okay, I might need to run it a little bit of isopropyl alcohol again. Just make sure we're getting all the residue off. That is pretty much as good as it's going to get, I think. And you know what? As much as I like this monstrosity of a project, I think we should probably try the old-fashioned Game Boy because that gives us a boot screen, which I think will probably be helpful. And yes, I'm taking the battery out of this DS because the battery in this DS is actually a Game Boy Advanced SP battery. Positive to positive, negative to negative. I think that'll sit in there without falling out. Make sure it turns on. Does not. There we go. I guess it just wasn't right. And to confirm this one's working, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We get the Nintendo logo, the Game Boy logo, and a boot. So flip our board back into position. Put this in here. Ooh. Well, that just flew off. Yeah, let's sit it down there. All right, well, if this game works, it's probably going to go in the collection. Nintendo logo. Wow, it's actually working. Color me surprised. Wow, who would have thought that? Professor, we're here at last. You can remove your blindfolds now. Are you finally gonna tell me why we're here? Are you gonna finally tell us why we have to wear blindfolds, Professor? Well, my secret lab wouldn't be secret if everyone knew where it was. Anyway, I brought you here because I have a couple of great surprises for you. The first one is over there. Go ahead and take a look. Good old RPG Pyro. Oh, and you can jump. And blow flyer. Blow flyer? Blow flyer. Breathe flyer. Blow fire? I don't know what I'm trying to say. It doesn't sound right either way. Oh, you can fly a little bit too. Oh, man, yep, and you can dash. Well, it's working. That's cool. All right, cool. Okay, now what we need to do, we'll test out to see if the battery's working. We should have a saved game. And no, the battery's not working. Okay, well, I'll have to replace that. So I am quite surprised. I did not think that this game would work. It's too bad that the label came up. Is there any embossed number? I don't see any embossed number. So now what we have to do before we go any further, and I have a feeling that this is a bootleg game. We'll see. We'll see. Place your bets now. Let me know in the comments. Do you think that this game is bootleg? Well, I'm going to go ahead and do some research, see if I can find some board pictures, see if there was anything missing from that populated area, and see if this is legitimate or not.
So it is not looking good for our game here. Unfortunately, this is what our game is supposed to look like. It's got a castle in the background, Universal Interactive, and it looks nothing like this. So I really like using this website here. It's called Game Boy Hardware Database by Gekio or something like that. And they have a lot of really helpful information about boards and stuff that I found recently, actually, within the last year. They have console things for like, they actually show pictures of boards, main boards, front, back, all sorts of very helpful stuff. So very helpful if we want to try to find out what thing is missing or what was populated and not there anymore and all that stuff. So very good website. Very, very good. So really like the website. Unfortunately for Spyro Tech of the Rhinox and actually quite a lot of the Game Boy Advance games, they don't have any submissions at all. So thankfully, because of an eBay seller, and I'm really not sure if I'm supposed to show off eBay listings on YouTube. I don't know if that's allowed or not, if that's fair use. I have no clue. So we're playing it safe, and long story short, thankfully the seller had some board pictures, and the board looked completely different. In fact, this is what the board is supposed to look like. It's supposed to be an AGB E0320. And as you can tell, this is completely different from what we have. There is no janky looking boards, there's no blobs of silicone hiding chips, and there's no battery. In fact, I think most of the GBA games didn't have batteries. So right off the bat, obviously V8 moment, boing, you know. So yeah, this is looking rather bleak for our game, and I think that we indeed do have a bootleg. So yeah, womp womp.
Well, I'm not sure what happened to it or where it went, but this is the second game from the 177 video games I picked up on eBay to start this journey of learning how to repair video games. It was a Cinderella game. Maybe I can find some footage. Probably not. But yeah, we will definitely have to keep our eye out for bootleg games in the future. Make sure that we don't sell anything that is a bootleg. Repairing bootleg games is not that big of a problem to me, and just I'll throw it in a bag or throw it in some sort of container and say I can play it or have one of these. Probably glue this label down. But yeah, definitely going to have to keep my eye out and make sure that we don't have any more bootlegs as we're repairing and testing. Well, I hope this video was at least halfway entertaining. I hope that we all learned something about bootleg Game Boy Advances and how to identify them. Successful repair? Sort of. But for a bootleg game. Not stellar, but it increases our knowledge of what to look out for if it is a bootleg GBA game. And hopefully we can detect them easier in the future. Of course, I wouldn't mind repairing bootleg games anyways, because I like a challenge. But it would have been better if this was an actual good version of this game. I think this game's worth about $15 to $20. It would have been nice. But yeah, hopefully nobody else bought this thing for $20 back in the day and was taken in by the duplicitousness of the gaming industry and those that would seek financial gain through counterfeiting. Well, there it is. Thanks for watching, and God bless.